Welcome back to our programming here and all of our tech service brought to you by one company, and this guy will be here on Thursday from 3 until 5 driving you home, and I'm sure maybe this UMBC miracle will settle in with Dennis Koulatsos over there at Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. I mean, it's almost like you want to say that the dealership's in Catonsville, right? I mean, at this point, everything west of the Beltway is Catonsville on a weekend when UMBC's involved. Now, really an incredible local story, Dennis, that fell into Baltimore's lap this week, huh?
Just an incredible sports story. And Nestor, this is why we love sports so much. We love an underdog. America loves an underdog. And what better underdog than our very own UMBC Retrievers? I know that you have a lot of friends at the university, as I do. And look, for an athletic department that only gets $13 million a year, contrast to $73.4 for Kansas State. To tell you what, they did a great job.
Well, and I guess there's good and bad in all this story, right? Like the fact that the basketball side of this is wonderful, other than if we're going to talk about Sunday night, they had a chance to win the game. And I think from Ryan's perspective, for those kids and people really close, it's a great story and the fallout. But they're gonna be thinking about that. I remember back in 1997 when Coppin, and this week, 21 years ago, Fang brought the entire team out to my studio. I'm gonna post those pictures up on Facebook and Twitter later on today as well. And I remember how Fang looks disappointed in the pictures because they had a chance to beat Texas. You know what I mean? Like they was sitting there, and I think for UMBC that the fallout in the next couple of days. It'll be great. They come home, everybody loves them, but they had a chance to win, and I think that's the worst part for Sunday night.
Well, it certainly is. They'll look back at this game, Nestor, and kick themselves. They had multiple opportunities, several opportunities to get on top and stay on top, and I thought had they been able to get the lead in the second half, they would have been able to sustain it and even extend it, but they never gave themselves a chance. They shot 30%, under 30% from the field, 29.8%. They missed half the free throws. They gave up 13 steals. They scored 0 points off of turnovers that they created. When you put all those stats together, I mean, it's amazing that we went as close as they were. And the only reason was because Kansas State just shot so poorly themselves. But it was a competitive game. It kept us. It wasn't an exciting game from a in a fan's perspective. But look, that they were right there with 4 minutes to go was exciting in and of itself. But to your point, you're right. They're going to go back and saying what shoulda, coulda, woulda. Well, they didn't.
And they had 48 hours to prepare, and it looked like a tired effort on both sides, right? I mean, if you would have said to Ryan Odom, Saturday morning, hey, K-State's going to score 50 points. Do you think you can win? Sure. I mean, like that's what it would have been all about, and obviously dealing with the size and the fatigue. But I would think for those kids emotionally on Saturday and Sunday, the thing got kind of big, right? I mean, if they put the TV on, if they open their phones, I don't know if you want to lock them in a cave after that kind of a thing, but I would think that their lives got very, very active and in a very unnormal way for them, in a way that it doesn't on a Tuesday night when they're, playing Hartford or something, right?
Yeah, no question. Look, the people know who they are. America knows who they are now. They're celebrities, and this is something that no one can ever take away from them. I think that's the bigger story here, Nestor, is that they made history. They're written down in the history books of the NCAA tournament and America's history, sports history, and lore. And look, they're celebrities. That this is a once-in-a-generational type of a team. They did something that nobody ever has done before. 16 seed taking out a 1. That's something no one can ever take away from it going forward. Dennis
Koulatsos joining us here from Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And, of course, he'll be here with the SSV on WNST from 3 until 5. For UMBC in the future, I guess the first thing would be like, if this were some other school, the coach isn't going to be there long, right? I mean, that's the first thing you think of. But the arena's going to be there, and I know we have been telling you about the new arena down there, and everybody's excited. Sure. They're going to have tickets they need to sell. The first thing I thought when I walked in there a month ago was, oh my God, they have a lot of tickets they're going to have to sell around here. But I also thought they're going to get bands here. They're going to grow this university, this program around sports. And when I think of UMBC, and I know it might be tough for you Towson types, but I think of it as sort of this academic place. Every time I'm over there, I feel like the dumb guy on the campus because it's a campus full of nerds and and scientist and stuff that I wasn't qualified to. I wouldn't have been a great student at UMBC. I wasn't a science major. I was more arts and humanity, the liberal arts, and writing and communications and, speaking and public speaking and things like that. I've always thought of UMBC as being this really good school, and I find it fascinating now that they have a president who walked with Dr. King. They have a star player who walked with the president. It's in Baltimore where bad things have been happening. Here's a good Baltimore story. I wonder what it means for the university and for the campus over the next 5 or 10 years, because I'm with you on all that. They're going to be a part of lore. Every year in March, you're going to hear about them. They're always going to be, portrayed as the David that slayed the Goliath, and that's a wonderful. Luke said they're going to do 30 for 30s on this year, and they probably will. But what does that mean for the university? I'm wondering. I hope good things, because I like everyone over there so much.
Yeah, a lot of good people over there. Until this recent tournament, their biggest claim to fame was Kathleen Turner, of course, the famous actress of Body Heat fame, and that was the greatest thing that has ever come out of UMBC. I've always followed their lacrosse program. I love lacrosse, both men's and women's. They've always had a good program over there. And circling back to Coach Odom, he's going to be a hot commodity. I've already heard that ECU has made overtures already. I don't know how much credibility is in that story, but look, there's going to be other programs that they're going to come knocking at his door. Some bigger schools, some bigger programs. He's got the pedigree. His dad was a heck of a coach, and I think that's job one for UMBC, is to make sure that they take care of the coach and keep him from going elsewhere, because you know what, you can bet your bottom dollar teams are going to come after him. He's a hot commodity right now.
Dennis, the story that got sort of, put away over the weekend, and I remember on Friday morning, Luke and I were chatting, and Ozzie Newsome was going to hold a press conference, and, the Ryan Grant thing was egg on their faces, and now here comes Crabtree. Give me the sniff test in all this, Dennis. Play out what do you think happened around here last week with Ryan Grant's physical. I joked openly out on Twitter, apparently Steve Bisciotti has Mr. Angelos' medical people on speed dial. I don't know.
I don't think you were too far off from that comment, Nestor, because it was a real head-scratcher. We all had to Google Ryan Grant's name and figure out who he was, and, of course, we saw he was the third option at receiver for the Washington Redskins. It was a real head-scratcher. I understand, panicking a bit, but this was desperation. This move reeked of desperation to offer this cat $29 million, in contrast to Michael Crabtree, who they gave up $21 million to. And, of course, Crabtree's a much more accomplished receiver, got a great pedigree, not the best locker-room guy in the world, but out on the field, he certainly can make plays. But that move with Ryan Grant, what I want to know, Nestor, as a fan, is who were they competing against? Who were they bidding against for Ryan Grant's services? Because I don't think anybody else was interested in this cat besides the Baltimore Ravens. This is not good for the organization. This is not what great winning organizations do. These are not the kind of moves that they make. And very thankfully, they were able to get out of it because of his ankle. But now he's negotiating with other teams. I think as of our conversation right now, he hasn't been signed. But that move was a real head-scratcher. It made zero sense whatsoever for an organization, Nestor, that as always says, right player, right price. This may have been the right player, but the price certainly wasn't right.
Here's Dennis Koulatsos. He's over at Coons Florida Security Boulevard. And in the case of Crabtree, where are you on that?
Well, I still think it's desperation. I don't think he's a John Harbaugh kind of a guy. I mean, of course, he's talked to his brother about him, but he's one of those. But
what do you think productivity-wise in this offense? He's going to catch balls, though, right? I mean,
he's going to look. They need him. They need him. They had to get somebody, right? And he was the best available option, not named Ryan Grant.
Well, I'm worried about I'm worried about all the things they're doing at this point, because I don't think last week was a good look, and I always think of them as having the strategy, the right player, right price. We don't have to go and play this weekend. All of those things that I've heard Ozzie say a million times. It doesn't feel like a lot of that can be said right now with him going out, and whatever shape this organization's going to be in whenever he exits, this year is particularly weird because it's the first time ever that we sort of have this outgoing administrative thing happening, and the coach is under fire, and Suggs isn't long for here, and the perception is Flacco isn't long for here, and the perception is they don't have any Pro Bowl players. Every nuanced part of this feels like it's different than any of the other 22 years to me. With the PSLs and Dennis, I keep holding up these crazy books that they've sent me. Right, I got 6 of them. I have 6 of these books here. These community impact books that they're doing here. Right, and I don't. It just feels like they're operating differently than they have because they need to, and this isn't their gig, winning free agency. You know what I mean? Like that's not the organization. They've never won the draft because they don't draft in the top 5 every year. So this is everything about it feels a little off kilter to me, and I've been watching this very, very closely from the very beginning in 1995.
It feels off kilter, but it also feels as more of the same to me, Nestor. I feel real bad for John Harbaugh and his coaches. I mean, they haven't mismanaged the cap. They haven't given players bad deals. They haven't drafted poorly. All that falls on the scouting department and the front office. I think John Harbaugh has done a great job in keeping the team together and keeping them competitive and working through injuries. But I would like for once to see him have a semblance of a receiving corps for Joe Flacco, and the same thing with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco deserves better receivers, particularly at this point of his career. We have the worst receivers, not just in our division, but maybe in the entire NFL, even with the addition of Michael Crabtree. Now they're talking to Eric Ebron. Hopefully they can get him under contract. The guy had the dropsies for a couple of years, seems to have it under control. Very good with the yards after catch. They need to give Joe Flacco some toys. Ebron would also be a great free agent to sign in addition to Michael Crabtree, in addition to getting another young tight end in the draft, plus a couple of young wide receivers and shoring up that offensive line. They still have a big hole at right tackle, and also who plays center for them. A lot of questions heading into the second wave of free agency and also the NFL draft.
Ryan Jensen, I can't keep up with this, right? Like last year it's Wagner, this year it's Jensen. You can't pay your center $11 million. I mean, I certainly not this organization. Now, what it does for Jameis Winston there and for the kind of center they want, for that quarterback, for that offense, and I love Ryan Jensen, but I can't fault them for not giving Ryan Jensen that money.
No.
At all.
No, I don't disagree with you, but again, to me, as you mentioned, it feels odd, it feels off. But in the same breath, to me, it still feels more of the same. They're still up against the cap. They're still tight. They have got to nail the draft this year. If they don't nail the draft, they're going to be in deep, deep trouble. Their first 3 picks have got to be on that field starting day one. They cannot afford to keep drafting players that are not NFL ready, that can't answer the bell, that can't stay healthy on the opening day of the season. They've got to get it right, Nestor, or it's going to be more the same. 8-8, 7-9, 9-7. It's going to feel just like it's felt since 2013.
He is Dennis Koulatsos. He's from Coons Ford. They sponsor, of course, our WNST text service, which got a heck of a workout last week. Several Ryan Grant texts there for you, Dennis, out there.
Yeah.
Tell me what's going on at Coons Ford and Security Boulevard.
Hey, and also the Tiger Woods text. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Tiger. Great to see him back. Is he great for golf or sports or what? I mean, when he plays, when he's in contention, Nestor, all the TV sets tune in.
Just when you think, we're done with him, here he comes back. I mean, it's an incredible sports story. I mean, I'd like for him to pee in the bottle and figure out what's going on there, but that's for people smarter than me. That's for the medics to figure out, right?
Hey, April 5th or the 8th, the Masters. We'll all be watching. He's the odds-on favorite right now in Vegas to win it all.
Well, my weekend calendar's cleared for the Masters, as it always is on that final Sunday. What are you doing out there at Coons Ford? You're selling some cars, right?
We're selling cars, trucks, SUVs, and late model pre-owned to everyone. We have a great service department. Right now, just a great time to come out and enjoy the savings. It's spring. The birdies are singing. We have convertibles. We have drop tops all over the place. Everything has air conditioning. Then we got some snow here in the forecast the next few days. But you know what? It's all good here at Coons Baltimore Ford.
All right, we will see you on Thursday from 3 until 5. It is the SSV on WNST. That's the show where Dennis provides therapy for me each and every week, right around 4:15. You can tune in for that. The SSV on WNST, and, of course, our WNST tech service for all things breaking news. And I'm sure there'll be more breaking news, not just on the Ravens side, but as the Orioles get ready for opening day. Big reminder, we're going to be swabbing for the Bone Marrow Registry with head coach Barry Trotz of the Washington Capitals. It is our Baltimore Capitals night. We're doing it in Timonium this time at Michael's Cafe in Timonium, York Road, across from the fairgrounds, right at Timonium Road. Come on out. Say hello. Meet the coach. You're calling it opening day. I'm calling it Capitals Conversation Night. We'll be swabbing for There Goes My Hero and blood cancer patients around the world beginning at 7:30. So if you're doing opening day, stop by afterward or come do opening day at Michael's. Great sports bar there and pub, fantastic crab cakes. Get yourself a seat and stick around for head coach Barry Trotz next Thursday, the 29th. I am Nestor, nasty at WNST.net reaches me. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.